Today on News at 1:30, our top stories.
The EU referendum date is set and approaching as Britain decides whether we should stay in or leave the European Union.
With the passing of Super Tuesday, we will be discussing the future of America's presidency. Will it be Democrat or Republican?
And now, Olympic cyclist Victoria Williamson, involved in a serious accident, over to Iona to touch more on this.
Victoria Williamson, who achieved a bronze for GB in 2012, was involved in a traumatising crash in Rotterdam, Holland. After 4 weeks in hospital, she's hoping to get back on a bike eventually. She fractured her neck and back, dislocated her pelvis and slipped a disc in her neck after a collision with a List Linktree during the Omnium final. Initially, doctors thought she would be paralysed, yet the brave athlete has luckily managed to pull through. She is unable to recall the accident, but states it's not going to put her off in the future.
Thank you, Iona. The debate on whether to stay in the European Union has been the topic of many headlines. Now, over to Ella to say more about this story.
With the date now approaching for the EU referendum, Britain is split about 50-50 in their beliefs on whether to stay part of the European Union or to leave. Those who will be voting to leave the EU on the 23rd of June may be doing so as they believe that the European Union is holding Britain back and enforcing many rules in which our benefit is not exactly clear. The other half of our nation who will be voting to stay most likely will be doing so because of our large trading communities and the heavy flow of immigrants entering our country to work, who arguably benefit our public services.
Thank you, Ella. With Super Tuesday been and gone, the future of America's presidency is still unsure. We will now pass on to Harrison, who will talk more about this story.
Thank you, Helena. As you said, with Super Tuesday been and gone, the race for presidential nominations is heating up. With that in mind, I'm going to talk to you about who's winning and who's losing so far, who will be carrying the briefcase next year, and if Donald Trump will be able to actually build that wall. It's been a tough week for Bernie, as Hillary Clinton seems to be coming out on top, leading Sanders 7 states to 4. But what does this mean for the American civilian? Well, it's good news if you're an upcoming student, as she's planning on making tuition fees a bit more affordable, donating $7.5 billion to improve the quality of higher education and encouraging colleges and universities to lower their tuition fees. For the Democrats, it seems Donald Trump's controversial views are gaining quite some popularity in the US, as he's leading closest rival Ted Cruz 7 states to 3. But if the businessman does manage to get into power, what does this mean? Well, his main policy is immigration. He calls for a total ban of all Muslims from entering the US to combat the war on terror. So who will be renting the White House next year? To find out, we'll just have to wait and see.
Some of our other news stories include
The death of Sir George Martin at the age of 90 on the 8th of March. Many have paid tribute, including Paul McCartney, who described him as his second father.
To conclude our news segment, a woman was saved from a van by a group of charity cyclists. Gemma Lloyd was trapped in a van for 4 hours as the wind closed the door, locking her inside.
Thank you and goodbye.